Today's Dawson Rider review is going to be a recap of the recap episode of Kiramager Episodes 1 and 2, featuring deleted scenes. Unfortunately, Dawson Rider did not have the resources to have a beret or sunglasses to fully complete a parody of the opening bit. Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here, and welcome to my review for the Kiramager special. These were episodes 1 and 2 done in a recap style, so they were smushed together into 23 minutes. And not only was it kind of a recap, but it did include deleted scenes. Some of them, in fact most of them to be honest, were very minor, but there was a cool couple little bits in there to talk about. And honestly, when this was first announced, misunderstood, and I thought they were going to be doing episodes 1 and then 2, and it was just basically going to be the episode we already saw, but with deleted scenes. Which it is, but it's a little bit different. Like I said, they condense it down, and then they have some commentary going over it, kind of not too different from a clip show, and there's like some funny little commentaries on things that have happened. Kind of, for example, like this. As you can see here, I was very excited that Kiramager was able to complete its first episode without having debuted all of its toys, and the world did not end. Well, at least mostly. I'm also wearing a backwards hat, which is a choice, and it seems very bright in the room because I think it was darker in the world. I mean, like, you know, lighting-wise, so I had to put my professional lights on me instead of just the natural light. That just both of them, I think, capture my natural glow, though. And it's kind of funny that this is like a special episode due to like the hiatus because of everything going on, but Toku and anime do recap shows all the time. Have you watched Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains? They do a recap episode in the middle of an episode. They're like, wait, we gotta recap the first 11 minutes of this episode. So it's just kind of funny that it's like a special episode, but also an episode type that they do. But so there is a lot of really minor deleted scenes in this. Pretty inconsequential ones, even ones I don't even know why they needed to include. Like some of them are literally like frame by frame slides in between scenes. For example, like during the scene when they're all talking to Jiru after the first fight of the Core 4 in the first episode, like there's literally like one line of dialogue in between the scene where he says like, oh, I thought Red was going to be the strong one. Or there's a scene at the end of episode 1's mecha fight when Shovel was like on a building and clamped down on the monster, where it just literally shows a frame of a close-up of him biting it. There's lots of little scenes like that that either are, you know, largely inconsequential, like nothing new happens, it's just a little bit trimmed fat, or literally like one frame that got deleted, which is just kind of funny because it's like blink and you missed it. It'll be like shovel, 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 deleted scene, shovel, shovel. So that's kind of funny. But there was a couple neat ones worth going over. I wouldn't say there was anything like new, like any new information that's going to inform us of stuff we don't already know in the show, just kind of stuff enhancing things we already know. For example, this isn't really any new information, but we do get an extended sequence of all of the Rangers being introduced in episode 1 when they get a roll call, showing them a bit more in their jobs. They get called by their Kiramei stones and there's a little back and forth. And so these were nice little scenes. I can see why they had to trim them for time, and that's kind of what most of this episode is you see just the little cuts they had to make for time. But with these ones, I see why they trimmed it for time, but it was still nice, and I really liked the extended intro scenes because I feel it gave you more of a feel for each Ranger's personality and the Kiramei Stone's personality and their little connection. Like, you don't get like a full roundup of it, like Woody's roundup, but you get like a little bit more of a taste, especially since if you didn't watch episode 0, you might not know them as well, so I thought it was a nice little bonus. And then the other, like, most significant scene, there is another one I'll talk about in a second, but the third one is at the ending. Both episodes have a nice little deleted scene at the ending, which I thought was actually really nice. And again, I don't think we lost a huge amount by deleting it, but they were both really nice scenes. I kind of wish were somehow included. Like at the end of episode 1, when they finish fighting, they all demorph and are just kind of talking about what happened, and then like there's a shot of the mecha behind them, and Drew says something to the effect of, oh my god guys, I'm so sorry, I was so bossy and just taking charge of everything, you know, when he made all their mecha and stuff for them. And that was just a really nice like ending scene for an episode. I thought it had a lot of charm to it. It was just kind of a funny little scene. Again, I don't feel like Kiramager is worse because we don't have it, but it was definitely one of the nicer scenes compared to like, oh yeah, my favorite scene is the close-up of the shovel mouth shot. And so the other deleted scene I wanted to talk about for this is there's one that happens in episode 1 and 2 that are similar, in which both Brawhead and Glasses Guy, they're talking about Jiru's specialness, you know, that defeating Sith Lords is his speciality. Like, they're both kind of just talking about, you know, oh, how can he do this? Like, oh, he's got this wonderful imagination, and there's like a close-up shot of the morpher when they're talking about it. And this happens in episode 1, I believe, with the glasses guy, whose name I forget yet because he hasn't got a lot of focus. And then the second one is with Brawhead. And then one little added detail is that he's talking to her about it, and he says maybe it's because it's not just his imagination, but his caring, because they're talking about when he was able to make the Gemini and stuff in episode 2, that he was specifically driven by helping Senna and not just making something. So I guess that was kind of a new detail. These I liked because they were nice little foreshadowing of Juru's storyline, but I don't think necessarily we're missing anything, because I think they've done a pretty good job of setting up that there's something special about Juru over the course of the series so far. But still, it was nice to see that they were setting up foreshadowing this early on for a nice through line, and it was a nice little bit in there. And I especially liked the one in episode 2 when they talked about, you know, oh, it's probably because of his caring. I don't know if that's going to be important later, but that was something I don't recall being brought up in detail in the episodes we have seen that don't have deleted scenes. Then episode 2, honestly, I would say overall had even less scenes than episode 1 that were worth talking about, just like a couple extra shots of the villains. I forgot to mention episode 1 there was also some extra scenes of like the beginning when the reporters were talking about the aftermath, but just kind of scenes like that, really quick scenes. The only real 2 ones that I singled out for episode 2 were there was kind of an extended little scene when Juru was drawing, getting ready in the episode, and Yellow was there commenting on it. Like, it was more of like a mini extended scene. Like, it didn't add a whole bunch, it was just kind of an extra little humorous bit. But then that episode also did have a different little ending scene, which I liked, where Senna is talking to Juru about how he's one of the team now, and you're clear that she's very grateful for the fact that he took the time to understand her. I thought it was a really nice little scene about the team building. I like the dynamic with that. But also, most of all, I liked like the very ending of that scene, which was really funny when Yamato, is it Yamato? Is Yellow's name Yamato? No. Yellow. When he just says, what is that dude's name? Get it eventually. Shovel Corpse guy, Yellow. When he, after that nice scene with him and Senna, he says, you know, I'm hungry. Can you imagination up some sushi? And I thought that was really funny. Like, that's something that I'm surprised I didn't think about anybody bringing up. Like, oh, well, if you can create us all these Zords, why don't you just create us some food, like a Star Trek food synthesizer? So I thought that was kind of funny. And it led right into that scene I was just talking about, where they're talking about his imagination, where he's like, oh, why don't you just whip us up some sushi? And Drew's like, that's not how that works. And then they're talking about, like, oh, it might not be just because of his imagination, it's because of his caring. I'm like, well, maybe you should care about some sushi. Or, as they call it in Digimon, donuts. That's pretty much it for the recaps, though. At the very end, they do have a little bit of a teaser for Kiramei Silver. They do kind of an outro, and during that they say like, oh, it's so nice we're all getting along, and I believe it's pink. It's pink or yellow, pink or green, that says like, oh, I wonder if there's only gonna be 5 Kiramagers, and they're like, why would you say something like that? And then they say, you know, stay tuned for a teaser after or do they do that before or after? But they have a teaser of, it says coming soon, and it shows off some flashes of Kiramei Silver. And so that's really cool. I think that was a really smart move, what they did there with that. Because it says coming soon, we don't have a firm date. It seems like everything on track to probably come out in June, but I feel like they're not saying a date just in case they need to delay it further. I'm not sure about that aspect. But I think this was a very smart move. The episode was overall enjoyable. I wouldn't say it's essential, so if you are wondering whether you need to watch it or not, unless you really just want some Kiramager content, it's not essential. It doesn't add a whole lot. It was just kind of a fun little way to get a Kiramager fix, but like in a franchise standpoint, I think this was really smart, you know? It was basically a recap episode, but they made it entertaining with some commentary, a few little bits of deleted scenes, and then, you know, they used it to promote Kiramei Silver, to keep it present in the audience minds, and let them know that there's exciting stuff happening in the future. I think that was well done. If I had to rate this, I would overall give it a 7. I think it was enjoyable, but non-essential. But if you are wanting a Kiramager fix, I think this will at least somewhat quench your thirst for that. Next week's is actually going to be an episode from the perspective of the Kiramei Stones, where they kind of talk about their partners, so that could potentially be fun and entertaining, and I'll probably cover that unless it just ends up having no content to talk about. But anyway, that's about it for this one, guys. Let me know what you thought of this recap episode, or if you'd like to see them do stuff like this in the future when they have hiatuses. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps, ring that bell so you can get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.